So the way that it is set up, you get 2.5% of whatever an average monthly payroll is for you. So, if you know for 1 month your average payroll is $10,000, then you qualify for 2.5% of that. As long as your business was established before February 15th, 2020, you qualify.
A good day and welcome to yet another broadcast of Home Care Business Advisors. Today, we're going to be talking about PPP loans for businesses. I think a lot of us have heard about them. And to break this down, I'm joined by our guru when it comes to this from the banking sector. I'm with Nikki Lopez. Nikki, hi.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited for being here. As you heard, I'm in the banking industry. I've actually been in banking for right around 17 years now. Started off with a bank as a branch manager and then transitioned into a corporate trainer role where I'm responsible for quite a bit of operations. And last year when COVID hit, I was tasked with, being a consultant with SBA to work with PPP, which, as you know, is that paycheck protection program that the government, alongside the SBA came up with to help small business owners, business owners on a whole, it was struggling, to meet payroll, whatever other business expenses they had. So last year we did origination. I wrapped up the year working on forgiveness. So yes, it's actually a loan that can be forgiveness. Well, that's something that a lot of business owners were not aware of, and that's exciting news. And now here we are again in the second round with this new administration, once again going through origination. So small business owners have until March 31st or whenever the funding runs out to apply to get help, for their business and for their employees. So I'm here to talk about that.
Great. And I think from that, Nikki, one of the most exciting things that a lot of us business owners would love to hear is that you can be forgiven for it. I think
that's the fun part. That's the fun part. When we started last year March, we didn't know, as an institution that forgiveness was coming around, and we had a lot of happy customers the last quarter of the year into this year, just knowing that they didn't have to pay that money back. So that was exciting.
That's exciting. But let's just step back a little bit. Exactly what is a PPP loan and who is facilitating this program? Can you break that down a little bit more to those maybe who don't have that much information?
Yeah, so PPP, it's basically a loan from the government. You're working with your bank, your lender, and the Small Business Administration, SBA, and you're saying, hey, you know what? When COVID started, I'm not getting clients. I still have to pay my employees. I still have responsibilities out there for my business, but I don't have the income to pay my workers, or I don't have the income to buy my supplies. And so you apply for help through, again, your local institution or directly through the SBA. You do have to meet some requirements, and then you're approved for a certain amount. Once you get that amount, the government does stipulate that 60% of it needs to go towards your payroll costs. And then last year, it was just payroll costs, your rental, if you were leasing or renting your building, or mortgage interest, not the entire mortgage payment, just your interest, and utilities for the business. Those were the three categories last year that you would have been eligible to be reimbursed for. This year, they actually went a bit further and added some more categories to it. So if your building was damaged during the riots, if you have supplier costs, some additional expenses were added to that as well, which made it a lot easier for a lot of folks that didn't quite meet those three requirements in itself last year.
Great, and thank you for breaking that down, Nikki. Hello to one of the Facebook users who just is giving us a shout out.
Hello.
Shout out to you as well. And would like to hear where you are following from. That's great. It's always good to know, where people are following from. Now, what's the specific criteria it is there for one to qualify for a PPP loan? Because we've heard of some people saying they applied, they couldn't qualify. Can you give us a little bit more insight into that?
Yes, so one of the very first things that we have to know, and I'm so sorry, new business owners, you do not qualify. You needed to have been in business. I'm sorry. You needed to have been in business before February 15th, 2020 last year. And the reason behind that is the government is saying, hey, by then we all knew there was this thing called COVID. We all knew now may not have been the right time to start a business with everything that was going on. So as long as your business was established before February 15th, 2020, you qualify. Whether you're, go ahead.
Sorry, Nikki, not to cut you there. By established at that time, what do you mean? Because is it because the paperwork was in place? Did I need to have had clients? Did I need to have had some cash flow at that point? Can you break that down?
Yes, absolutely. And this depends on the type of business, whether it's a sole prop, corporation, LLC, or what some folks aren't aware of is that you can actually do that as a contractor as well. I know in Yvette's business, business owners do hire a lot of contractors, and contractors using 1099, they themselves also qualify for the PPP loan. So as long as your business was up and running, as long as you had payroll costs, as long as you can show that you were paying rent for the property or lease on that property or mortgage interest on that property, utilities in that business name, and again, of course, payroll at some point before February 15th, 2020, then you automatically qualify. Now, the length of time that you have the business also determines how much you then qualify for.
Okay. So essentially, there's a sliding scale that is based on how long you have been running in the business. What's the minimum that one can get, and what's kind of the potential maximum?
So the way that it is set up, you get 2.5% of whatever an average monthly payroll is for you. So, if you know for 1 month, your average payroll is $10,000, then you qualify for 2.5% of that. Now, for business, not for businesses, for restaurants this year specifically, the government says, hey, we also understand that they were hit more than traditional businesses or other businesses last year. So they're actually getting 3.5% this year. Last year, everybody was 2.5%. This year, restaurants get 3.5%.
Oh, that's great insight to have. Now, in terms of what you use the money as part of this criteria, can you give us a bit more insight into that?
Yes. So if you got whatever amount you got to qualify for forgiveness, which is a big thing, and we'll talk about that. But when you apply for the money itself up front, you just need to show that you had payroll. There's no set amount that you had to have in payroll. Again, it's just whatever your expenses were for that particular month. You will go ahead once you qualify with all the docs that are required, tax documents. If you're 1099, we need some additional information from you. Then you automatically qualify for a set dollar amount based off those figures that we calculate as an institution, that you sent into us to say, hey, this is what my typical monthly average is. And you have the receipts, of course, to show that this is what you pay towards payroll, towards your rent, your lease, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and this is interesting, from us and business advisors, that there are businesses which apply and use the money to actually increase salaries for frontline workers. And in this type of business that we are involved in home care, this is exactly something that one would do. So,
correct.
So,
yeah,
okay.
You absolutely can use the funds towards that, and I mean, that is also going to be a loyal employees, that's for sure, because we're all struggling at this point. So whatever an employer, business owner can do to help employees, that's a plus.
Great. So if one needs assistance, either with applying or with understanding this more, and to know, their eligibility and things like that, who should they speak to? Where can they go?
So the first thing they want to do is reach out to whichever bank has their bank account. You do need to, last year you had to be banking with that particular bank. Again, this year it's a little bit, some banks are doing things a little bit differently, but most banks are still sticking to the rule that your business account needs to be here with us. And it doesn't matter if you applied last year with one bank, you can always apply this year with a completely different bank. Most major banks are doing it. So just reach out to your banker, reach out to your credit union as well, and see if they are. I'm not 100% sure which credit unions are involved in the mix, but major banks are definitely going through and doing PPP loans at this point. And major banks, meaning Bank of America, Wells Fargo, US Bank, Chase.
So it does this now, because there's also been this concern about different consultancies or companies that come and say, we can help you with this application, and so on and so forth. From what I'm hearing from you, it kind of entails that you should really kind of stay away from such people, because you can actually get this done on your own.
You can get this done on your own. Honestly, it's a simple process. Your bank sends you an email and there's a link and you apply and it walks you through the process. Yes, it's a lot of paperwork, I'll admit that. But it's for a purpose. It's for you to be able to get those funds. And once you go through it, if there is someone who says, hey, I can do it, then by all means do your research, do your due diligence, because there are few and far entities, outside of your institution that can in fact do it. But honestly, if you do have a bank account with a bank, it's a process. It's a simple process in terms of where to start. You get that link and you start applying. And if you don't, you can go to sba.gov, and they also have a link there for you as well, and you can apply through that process.
Great. And Nikki, another point is in terms of backdating. To what extent can this be backdating? Can you backdate it? Can you claim in retrospect, or you can only claim for now moving forward?
So because we're looking at your average monthly payroll summary for period, you can actually go back to a certain time period. Again, whatever time period you choose to use, as long as you have the receipts to back whatever dates or figures you're given, then that is all that we need. It needs to have been within 2020 if you're going to be trying to backdate 2020 for this round of forgiveness, and of course whatever you've started doing so far this year.
And I assume when you are backdating, there is more need for you to justify and fully explain exactly what happened. If you manage to carry those costs, then why do you need the money now?
Exactly.
And things like that. Are there certain specific points that you can highlight to that people need to be aware of?
Yeah, so if you're gonna say you're gonna use the last quarter, that makes complete sense. COVID numbers went down, things were different. We had a new administration starting this year. So your business may have been in a different path in October, and then December it kind of went back into a funk. Or the beginning of this year, it could have been in a good path, and then things changing in a different direction. Again, whatever story you have to tell, once you tell that story, more than likely, again, if you have the documents for it, because that's really what we see where a lot of folks are not being able to get this loan, is because the story just doesn't add up. The paperwork isn't adding up. And be very careful when you're using your tax ID or your social. It does make a difference, right? And so we need to know exactly, are you applying as a sole prop? Are you applying with an EIN or TIN? What information does the bank have for you? Because those things are creating some disconnect. If your business account was set up with a social and then you're applying with an EIN, there's a lot of research that happens behind the scenes. And unfortunately, a lot of times those applications do get rejected just because of the process in trying to do all that verification. It's much simpler for us to reject an application, send the bar an email and says, reapply. Okay, so just take the time and do it right the first time. If you actually do that application correctly the first time, you get your money like 10 days max. It can be a simple process.
Nikki, this has been great, and thank you so much for being with us and spending some time with us here today. I'm also grateful for the time today to hang around with the cool kids. Just a few housekeeping issues. If you are not yet a Prime member of Home Care Business Advisors, I would encourage you to check out Yvette Atkins and book via Calendly, book a free consultation, a complimentary consultation, initial consultation with her, a lot of people's lives are being changed, a lot of businesses are growing, and things are happening. I see Nikki's waving her hand. Nikki, did you want to say something?
No. You said a lot of lives are changing from those sessions with Yvette, and I can attest to that because I've been working with her. So she's a blessing. She's a blessing. Wealth of information.
Wow, that's great. Otherwise, that's it for today, guys. And cheers for now. And bye-bye, Nikki.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.